I'm not good at a lot of things, and after tonight you might decide I'm not very good at public speaking either. But one thing I am good at, and that is getting lost. I get turned around very easily once I leave the well-trodden paths from home to school and from home to church and a few other places. Getting lost is not an especially valuable skill, but it is a reality that I live with every day. I could tell you stories. Here's one. I once visited Canada by mistake. My wife and I were on our way back from Niagara Falls, Canada. On our way through upstate New York, I got turned around and ended up on a bridge that brought us right back to Canada. I actually had to go through customs to get back into the States. And when the customs officer asked me how long I had been in the country, I honestly answered him about 2 minutes. He didn't smile, but he did let me go without a drug test or a vehicle search. Things could have gone worse. Some years after that, we went back to Niagara Falls. Clearly, I had learned nothing from my previous visit. We had used the GPS this time, so we had it made, or so we thought. Unfortunately for us, the GPS didn't work in Canada. Possibly because Canada is haunted, I don't know. All I do know is that our friendly neighbor to the north became a large gray blank on the screen. We managed to find Canada anyway, and since Niagara Falls is a well-known tourist destination with well-marked roads, it was easy to find, except it wasn't. I must have driven around for almost an hour following signs that allegedly pointed to Niagara Falls. The town was like a proverbial pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. You keep chasing it, but you never get there. Finally, out of pure frustration, I just turned down a random road, and voila, there it was. And it turns out we had a pretty good time there, too. For one thing, I parked the car and refused to use it again until it was time to go home. I was traumatized. We walked everywhere or took one of those free tourist buses. And the layout of the town is perfect for someone like me. Turn one way, you're at the falls. Turn the other way, and you're not. Pretty simple. So simple, in fact, even a caveman could do it. And we even managed to make it back to Pennsylvania without a long detour through Mexico or the Kamchatka Peninsula. Another time, though, the GPS tried to kill me. I was driving with my long-suffering wife from southeastern Ohio to the Troll Museum in Alliance, Ohio. I know what you're thinking. That's the trip of a lifetime, man. As we were snaking our way from southeastern Ohio to northeastern Ohio, the GPS was directing us to ever smaller roads in ever more sketchy areas. The creepiness, I tell you, was palpable. At one point, I swear we were on a dirt road. And being from Ohio myself, I know how those stories often end. You end up stuck in a cornfield while a half-crazed Amish farmer explores your intestines with a sturdy wrought iron pitchfork. I am convinced that the GPS had it in for me for a while. I could tell from the smug way she would give me directions and that exasperated tone she would always take when I decided not to take a left at the next exit like she told me to. Besides, we now had that Niagara Falls thing between us. Of course, I didn't share any of these thoughts with my wife, who for some reason had stopped talking to me some miles before. Somehow we got out of there with our intestines intact and made it to the troll hole, as it's called. It was awesome, by the way. It was a kind of Alliance, Ohio's version of Niagara Falls. Once, I even got lost in an elevator. I was in the elevator with my wife somewhere, probably Ohio, but possibly Niagara Falls. I boldly pushed the button for the first floor because the first floor is where I wanted to go. The doors closed, but the elevator didn't move. My wife gave me a look that I can only assume was one of great love, and then pushed the 3 button. It seems we were already on the first floor, and my powerful brain had not quite yet grasped that fact. We did reach our 3rd floor destination safely and efficiently. By now, several things should be clear. First, I am not to be trusted on any kind of road trip, horizontal or vertical. Secondly, I have been uniquely blessed in my wife, Charlotte. I am an exasperating person to live with, and especially to travel with, but her patience is extraordinary, and her love for me is unwavering. Third, it seems like I've gotten a little lost myself while telling you about how I got lost. Why are we here tonight? To honor our graduates. To thank God for bringing them this far in their long journey with Him. Right. So, what's this about getting lost? I can safely say, graduates, that your path here tonight has had its share of twists and turns, as we have already heard. Some unexpected detours and even some dead ends. In other words, you're normal. And perhaps in that circuitous journey, you have felt rather lost at times and it wasn't fun. Well, it is my happy duty tonight to inform you that from now on, your days of getting mixed up and muddled are over. The roads to your personal Niagara Falls will be accurate, well-lit, and clearly marked. Your path to your personal troll museum will involve no Amish lunatics hiding in the corn, and on the elevator of life, you will always press the right buttons. No, sorry. The path so far has not been straight, and the future is likely to be more of the same. The Bible tells us so, and often. In fact, the Bible warns us about getting lost. It is rarely a good thing. The Lord can and does bring good out of bad things, but the danger is real. Jesus calls himself the way for a reason, and the pathway of faith is one that we dare not wander from. I have seen it happen, and it breaks my heart when it does. So when it comes to Jesus, graduates, don't get lost. But there are good ways of getting lost too, and I hope you will experience many of them. I hope you will sometimes get lost in a story so well written that you almost forget it's not real. I hope you will get lost in music so beautiful that you don't want it to end. I want you to experience the lostness that comes with a creative activity, whether it is dancing or composing music or writing a poem or whatever it may be, a creative activity that is so absorbing, so mesmerizing that you lose all track of time. I hope in your studies that at times you will get lost in your research and your thinking as you relentlessly pursue God's truth. I especially hope that you would often get lost in your prayers and your reading of God's word and your worship, leaving yourself behind in a sense as you have a taste in this life of the full enjoying of God to all eternity. Now, these experiences that I have just wished upon you may sound a little strange and even a little mystical, but they are the kind of experiences all of us have had, and you have probably had them too. As we have learned in Bible class this year, the prophets often experienced a divinely inspired lostness and disorientation as God communicated with them in dreams and visions. They were always sometimes somewhat mystifying and often traumatic. Remember Isaiah in the throne room of the Lord, nearly paralyzed with fear and crying out, "Woe is me, for I am ruined." He felt lost. Remember the puzzlement of Zechariah and in the New Testament, the Apostle John, when they asked if they knew what these strange visions mean. And their humble reply, "Lord, you know." They are lost without him. Perhaps the most dramatic experience of lostness was that of Ezekiel, whose encounter with the sovereign Lord was a nightmare of loud noises, flashing lights, monstrous creatures with 4 faces, and towering crystalline wheels full of eyes. Ezekiel, you'll remember, was left flattened with his face in the dirt and so traumatized that he couldn't speak for days. Getting lost and disoriented can leave us shaken, even in the presence of God, maybe especially in the presence of God. Now, we're not prophets like these men, but we can still learn something from their experiences. Isaiah's confusion and dismay led to clarity and confidence. The pollution of his lips was purified by the burning coal of God's redeeming love. The bafflement of Zechariah and John were restored to order by the light of God's truth. And the abject fear and humiliation of Ezekiel found its resolution from the figure at the very top of his horrific vision, the figure on the throne, surrounded by the rainbow. This king lifted up the prophet, figuratively raising him from the dead and granting him the holy stubbornness to serve the sovereign Lord no matter what the rebellious house of Israel might say. This is the kind of lostness I most wish for you, graduates. No, it is what I pray for you. I have prayed for you and will continue to do so. Perhaps Charles Wesley said it best in the prayer at the end of his famous hymn, "Love divine, all loves excelling." Finish then thy new creation, pure and spotless let us be. Let us see thy great salvation perfectly restored in thee. Changed from glory into glory, till in heaven we take our place, till we cast our crowns before thee, lost in wonder, love, and praise. So Chesna, Colton, and Quinton, and I mean this with all respect, get lost.